Hello, everybody. My name is Brad Kramer with Provenio Consulting. And today I want to talk about an easy way that businesses can leverage safety to improve their bottom line, right? There's a lot of benefits to looking at your safety department as a typical business function, just like you look at accounting, your sales and marketing, your quality control department, all the other departments that play an integral role in building your business and being more profitable. So today I want to talk about your workers' comp experience modification factor. So what is the modification factor? I'm going to pull up a slideshow here. And basically, there's a few other names for it. The mod factor or mod rate, you might hear it as. But essentially, this is how your work comp insurance company determines how much they're going to charge you for premiums every year. So where this number comes from is your similar industries, comparable industries, the average for your peers in that industry for how much they have for losses for injuries or different types of accidents. So if you were perfectly average, just similar to your peers in the number of injuries, you would be one. One would be your mod factor or mod rate. More than one is going to be higher than average. So you've had more injuries, more dollars paid out in work comp, and less than one is going to be less. So how they calculate that is every industry is a little bit different as far as what the average losses are. So that mod rate, that number, is based on your industry, and they calculate what the average payroll percentage of payroll that's paid out in premiums. So, for example, well, first of all, they take that average from 3 years. So if you make improvements to your safety culture now, reduce your injuries, it is going to take some time for that average to improve. Conversely, if you have, say, a rash of injuries or a major injury this year, that's going to be on your record for the next 3 years with how they calculate your premiums. All right. So keep in mind, this is going to be kind of a long game that you're going to have to start investing now to see that benefit to your business. But like the Chinese proverb says, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. You have to start somewhere. So start today and start working on that modification factor, and you're going to see the fruits of that labor 2, 3, 4 years down the road. So if we look at how they actually calculate that, you're going to look at your gross payroll and multiply that by the percentage for your industry. So let's say we're going to look at an example here at 13%. Your industry might be a little bit different. You might be 13, 14, 15%. In your, say, very safe industries, such as maybe an office where you don't have manual labor, you don't have hazardous processes, things like that, they're going to have a much lower percentage of payroll compared to, say, if you're in a foundry or say a fire department or other emergency response agency. Other industries that have higher injuries, they're going to be paying out more of their percentage of payroll. And then we multiply that by the modification factor and we figure out what the annual premiums are. If you ever want to know what your mod factor is, you'd simply reach out to your work comp insurance provider. So reach out to them and say you'd like to know more about your mod factor, and they can give you what that number is. So now we can get a starting point for what is our mod factor, what kind of improvements do we need to make, and see how much it's actually costing your business every year. So look at a few examples here that I have. If we're starting out, let's say we have $1 million in payroll. That's not a real large company, small to maybe mid-size, but more on the small side of manufacturing, for example. And let's say 13% is what they calculate the gross payroll. And one, let's say the modification factor is 1. So we're going to go 1 million times 13% or 0.13, and then multiply that by 1, and we have $130,000 in premiums. So if in our industry, if that was the average, we'd be paying the average for the industry. Now let's say we had twice as many injuries or losses in that previous 3 years as average. So we would have times 2 instead of the times 1, and we end up with $260,000 paid out in premiums for that year. So that's $130 in additional premium. So higher expenses than we want to be paying or need to be paying. Now, let's say we had a good mod factor. Let's say we were 0.8, right? For the past 3 years, we've had low injury rates compared to our peers in a comparable industry. So we'd be 1 million times 0.13 times 0.8, and we end up with $104,000 in premiums. That's $26,000 per year in premium savings. What would your business do with $26,000 in savings? Now let's look at a company that they have a decent mod factor, but they're still above average. All right, here's 1.2. So they would have about $156,000 in premiums. So $26,000 in additional expenses compared to if they had a mod factor of 1. Right. So let's say you're starting out now, you really want to focus on your safety culture. You've had a rash of injuries for the previous few years. You want to get that under control because you want to be a good employer. You want to be that employer that you get your pick of the litter for good employees, because people aren't going to want to come and work for you if you injure a lot of your employees. That reputation is out there. People know about it. They hear from their friends that work there. They hear through the grapevine in the community how safe your culture is. So if you're having that mod factor of 2, even though community is not going to know your mod factor, they know your reputation. So let's say we want to focus our company on we want to lower that down to 1, if not lower, and just propel our company's safety culture. We might be going from $130,000 in additional premiums, so spending $260,000 a year. Maybe our goal for 5 years is to get down to 0.8, right? So in 5 years, after investing in our safety program, taking our annual savings, once we started to see savings in our premium expenses, reinvesting that into their safety program. So we might have started at 260 and we're ending up at 104. So what would you do with $156,000 per year in additional revenue or savings to your expenses, less expenses? That can mean a big difference for your business. So I would suggest every year when you're seeing a savings in those premiums, reinvest that into your safety program. Whether it's developing engineered solutions, it might be replacing machinery, might be replacing guarding, finding maybe chemicals that are less risky. Look for how can you quickly improve your injuries. Where's that low-hanging fruit? Focus on that first, and then keep moving through until 5 years down the line. Now you can revisit if you want to keep reinvesting this in safety. You definitely want to keep reinvesting some in safety. You don't want to just fall off the bandwagon. But now you can determine, okay, what do we need to keep sustaining and keep having improvements without losing our gains. But so anyway, this is a very easy way to figure out what's the ROI of my safety program. How much is it contributing to our bottom line? A lot of times when I'm doing safety projects, I can find other efficiencies that project is going to save. I might be finding ways that we can cut other costs and stuff like that. But this is definitely one of the ways that I calculate ROI with how improved safety culture is going to benefit a business. So if you have any questions on how you can improve your safety culture, make your company a better place to work, improve your bottom line, because let's face it, even though we may have a lot of reasons we go into business, we want to solve a problem, we want to help people. Essentially, we're all in business to make money, right? We go in every day to the office and do what we do because we need a paycheck. We need to eat. We need to put a roof over our head. And this is definitely a way that we can improve how much our business makes, as well as doing the right thing and keeping our employees safe, right? So if you have any questions, I'd love to help you out. But this is one great way to calculate what your safety program means to your bottom line.